You are listening to Radio Free Signs of the Times, broadcasting to the world on the eve of destruction.
We are doomed to extinction because of agriculture. We have raped and pillaged this planet. There is a disinformation program literally for everyone, no matter who you are and what your interests are, what your beliefs are, which way you're focusing. There is a website set up just for you to take you in and to vector your thinking and your attention into the way that they want you to think. Categories for things happening in the sky and the cosmos. If you read the scientific reports that come through and put the pieces together, you can see something big is happening.
There is strong evidence that, over the course of human history, repeated cometary bombardment from space has wiped the slate clean on our little planet. These cleansing events were naturally terrifying for people who lived through them. In time, the progenitors of those who survived rebuilt civilizations anew, and eventually the horrors of the past were forgotten. Increased fireball sightings in recent years, among other telltale signs, indicate that we have now entered another period of potential cosmic catastrophe. We are also living in a time when an endless war on terror is being waged, ostensibly to protect our freedoms and Western civilization from evil-doers over there. The result has been a significant increase in real, actual and felt terror that is evidenced in the form of social hysteria. Not a day goes by without news reports indicating that increasing hysteria has taken a hold of people. From mass panics in schools because fifth graders are caught playing with toy paper guns to fears that a zombie apocalypse is upon us. People are reacting in increasingly bizarre and paranoid ways. But what if the real threat has always been, well, out there rather than over there? Will our leaders and authorities be able to keep us safe from a cosmic threat? Do they even know about it? This week we'll be discussing the real purpose of protecting people by so-called fighting terror abroad or at home, and whether or not the real source of our deepest fears have anything to do with the threat from space that our leaders would rather keep under wraps. Hi, I'm Neil Bradley. Tonight I'm joined by Joe Quinn.
Hi.
And we're very lucky to have Laura Knight-Jajic with us and Jason Martin. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
As Neil just mentioned, this week's show is going to deal with a few different topics. But before we get into the topics for this week's show, we're going to deal a little bit with the topics that we should have talked about last week, but were unable to, because we had quote-unquote technical difficulties. We don't exactly know the source of them, but we had technical difficulties and we couldn't broadcast last week. So last week's show was basically about the hystericization or the hysterical nature of society in general, but perhaps in particular American society. And on that topic, over the past few weeks, we've seen, most notably in schools and pertaining to school children, a lot of hysteria, and it seems that this hysteria is the product of, or is directly related to, the Sandy Hook massacre of December 14th, 2012, just a couple of months ago.
Let me interrupt here. I have in front of me 2 or 3 little articles that came out last week, and this was all prior to the recent meteor explosion in Russia. So it was, people were already in something of a state. So let me share some of this with you. Here we've got one item called "Kids with Toy Guns." It's from The Blaze, and it was 24 January 2013, a Philadelphia 5th grader said she was scolded by a school administrator and even searched in front of her entire class, all because she pulled out a paper gun. Melody Valentin's father, her grandfather, had made her the gun the day before. The gun was actually a square piece of paper with a corner torn out of it to make it L-shaped. She stuck it in her pocket and forgot about it. When she went to throw it in a trash can in class, another student spotted it and called her out. A school administrator was summoned. She was reprimanded for having the piece of paper. She said, "He yelled at me and said I shouldn't have brought the gun to school. And I kept telling him, it's a paper gun, but he wouldn't listen." The administrator then threatened to have her arrested, while other students called her a murderer.
Wow. It's not a gun, it's a paper gun. Well, that's not even true. It's actually just a piece of paper.
Yeah, I actually saw
it can't even be described as a gun.
It's literally a square piece of paper.
Oh, that's not all. Just hang on. A few days later, a 5-year-old boy in Massachusetts may be suspended after he built a toy gun out of Legos during an after-school program. His parents received a letter that said the boy has received his first written warning for using toys inappropriately, and that upon a second warning, he will be suspended from the program for 2 weeks. This is a 5-year-old boy, for God's sake.
On the third warning, he's going to be sent to Gitmo.
Oh, dear. Okay, same day. A Bronx school building was temporarily locked down after a 12-year-old boy was overheard talking to a classmate about his toy gun, a bright-colored Nerf gun that shoots harmless foam darts.
Hang on a minute. A young boy talking about a toy gun? There's something wrong there.
He was
Kids
overheard talking to a classmate.
No, they don't. It's totally inappropriate. I think we need to take these kids out and execute them immediately, and that is the only solution to this problem.
Jason, thank you for the conservative stance there.
School officials were notified, and afterwards, the school principal immediately called for a total freaking lockdown of the school. He then broadcast a pre-established code word over the campus PA system, telling, let me turn the page here, everyone to hide. I was in the cafeteria eating, and then they gave out the secret code for an intruder in the building, said 10-year-old Kendall Garner, whose mother prevented her from revealing the secret word. Oh, dear God. Everybody had to go into the table, and everybody had to make a plan for what we had to do if the intruder came into the cafeteria. I mean, come on, people. What is happening here? These are adult people who are freaking terrifying little children. They are deliberately and intentionally traumatizing their psyches.
But they're terrified themselves, the adults.
Are they really terrified themselves?
Or they're hystericized.
If they are that terrified, they have no business being in authoritative positions in a school system.
Well, of course, yeah, but how many of these stories have there been over the past few weeks?
I counted 8 or 9.
8 or 9, yeah.
Within the space of a week.
Yeah, well, there was one actually just from a few days ago. It hasn't finished yet, you know?
Well, I read one, right? And this is the crazy thing, right? I read one of these stories. I don't remember which one it was. But here was what happened. So they had called the police, and the police had come, right? And a reporter was interviewing a police representative, right? And she was quoted as saying, "We take these problems very seriously. If there's a report of a gun in a school, we want to go and investigate whether or not it's a real gun or a toy gun, and whether or not that deserves to be punished," or something like that, right? As if having a toy gun, I mean, it doesn't matter what you do with the toy gun. It's a toy gun, you know? I mean, in the end, that's kind of the end of it. It's a toy, you know? I mean, it doesn't matter if the kid has it in his belt and is waving it around. I mean, you can punish him within the rules of the school by saying, hey, you can't be, flagging around your toys like that. That's okay. But the police have nothing to say whatsoever. It doesn't matter if the kid took the toy gun out, pointed at someone, and said, I'm going to kill you. That's not a police matter. That's totally a school matter, and the school should say, okay, well, you're not allowed to do that. That's okay.
Yeah.
But the police have no say in it.
Well,
Go ahead.
listen to what this little girl is saying. She said, Me and my best friend, we were just thinking, what would our parents do if we got killed? Perry Frazier, who was in 5th grade, was eating breakfast when he heard the code word and knew to hide because he and his classmates had practiced. But this wasn't a drill, Perry said. Everybody was hiding under the table. All the girls were crying. Our teacher was scared. Jacqueline Williams, whose 2 children attend the school, received a panicked phone call from her 9-year-old daughter after she wasn't allowed into the facility. She called home and said the school was locked down. Nobody knew what was happening. I got worried. Well, surprise, surprise. She got worried.
Well, on the one hand, you can maybe understand this, as we just mentioned earlier on about with it coming on the heels of Sandy Hook and the school shootings and stuff. But these are kids. These are small children at the school. It's not somebody coming into the school with a gun. But
exactly.
But even then, it's not just about guns, because there was an incident from the 14th of February, just a few days ago, and the report is titled "Student with Folding Shovel Prompts School Lockdown." A student carrying a folding military-style shovel prompted police action at Heritage Middle School Thursday. The school was put into lockdown around 9 a.m. That's when authorities received a report of an armed suspect in the school located at blah blah blah. Meridian police weren't initially sure what type of weapon the suspect was carrying. However, Deputy Chief Tracy blah 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 says officers eventually located the male teen and determined the shovel was being used as a prop for class. After further investigation, police learned the shovel actually belonged to a teacher who had asked an 8th grade student to grab it from their car. The teacher planned to use it as part of a classroom discussion on World War II.
And they locked the school down?
The school was in lockdown for approximately 2 hours. Classes resumed after the lockdown, however, and concerned parents were allowed to pick up their children. They don't plan to charge the student with any crime, which is good. It's good of them.
That's nice.
But district spokesman Eric Exlin said a student and a staff member saw a male teen walking down a school hallway. That right there, you cause for suspicion. There's a kid in
walking
a school,
down the hallway
with something suspicious, and it was reported to the school resource officer. He was told by some of the staff that they saw an individual jogging out of the school, then back into the school with what they told him was an axe. So it wasn't only that school was locked down as a result of that. It was other schools in the area all got the word to shut down. Like, the school was miles away because some teenager, a pupil at the school, was carrying a folding shovel that belonged to a teacher that the teacher had told him to go and get from his car. He was carrying it in the school, and everybody in the school crapped themselves, called the police. The police were there within seconds. Guns
what's
drawn.
The point of having an RO at a school? If he's such a pussy that he runs and says, let's lock down the school, I mean, what's the point of even having a resource officer at the school?
What is the point of having a principal if he can't make a judgment call on something like this toy gun rumor forcing lockdown of Bronx school and determine that there is no cause for alarm? Why is this man in charge of children? Why is he traumatizing these children? Well, we know the answer. They want the children to be traumatized.
Absolutely.
The parents are supposed to be traumatized. Everybody is supposed to be excited and traumatized because guess what? That makes them easily programmable and controllable.
Absolutely.
There's more of these stories. Here's a Hello Kitty bubblegum comment, lands a 5-year-old in school suspension. 5-year-old South Carolina girl is expelled from school. A 5-year-old expelled from school for bringing plastic toy gun to class. She is such a threat that the district official sent a letter January 15th warning her parents that if she's caught on school grounds, she'll be subjected to criminal charges of trespassing.